What's up, everybody? It is May 10th, Monday, and we are going to be reviewing a red day, actually. I had a red day today. It was a big red day, and then it was a small red day. And I can actually pinpoint like the exact spot where it kind of all went wrong, which is good, right? It's important because identifying exactly what I sucked at is important in identifying that in the future, trying to prevent that in the future. As you can see here, just looking at, I went and looked through all the top gainers on the day, and at one point I took a bunch of screenshots because it was, much of what you're seeing here, just pop and drop again. There were a few good names that had a little bit of, continued action that you could scout back and forth. And my best trade of the day actually ended up being a short. Now, if I had just, not revenge traded and, got a little wild, that amazing short to end the day would have put me, handsomely green. But instead, it just recouped a large amount of my losses. So I do have some rules in place. We'll talk about them as I point out where the losses were and exactly what took place. And I also think that I'm going to start streaming. I have a Twitch channel that I stream video game stuff on, but I think that I'm going to start streaming that in the morning just because it might be a little easier for me to kind of talk about stuff as it's happening. And, whether or not anybody watches it is irrelevant. It just might help me kind of be a little bit more accountable. So we'll try that out as well. But anyways, we'll start. I'm not trading pre-market this week. I'm not trading pre-market this week at all. That is based on last week's performances and just the metrics over the past month in pre-market that I've been able to look at. I haven't been doing great. It's been about 50-50. It's just not worth my time. So I get up early, eat breakfast, stretch, shower, whatever I need to do. And then I come back 10 to 15 after the open, and that's where we started today. The very first thing I called out was this, LEDS. Watching 10.69 to 10.5, and that was at 8.44. 8.44. So right here in this candle opens up at 8.46. 10.69 to 10.5. 10.69 to 10.5. So this actually ended up being my biggest gain, or like biggest single trade on the day. But as you can see, I only got filled on my very, very top bid here. Now my stop loss was actually, okay, I was about to say, I remember it being a pre-market level. I think it was right here at 10.25, because the bottom of my zone was more or less incorporating, if you come over here on the 5, you'll see that the bottom of my zone, boom, right there was this wick. The top of my zone was this wick, essentially. And, I was comfortable with my stop being here simply because that means that the move would have had to go through VWAP, would have had to go through the 20, would have had to go through 2 pre-market levels and still stop me out. Like that's a collective. That's a large collection of things that have to go wrong. And if all of those do happen to go wrong in a series like that, then yes, I would like to be stopped out. But I did get filled here. I ended up taking the move. I said only filled one bid on LEDS, but we take those. And that was at 8.47. So we're kind of up in here. We get over VWAP. Since I was only in one share, and the move started to move up like this, or I'm sorry, not one share, but one bid. I think it ended up being like 100 shares. I think it was a 500 I was taking total here for 25 cent risk. And I did 100, 100 in the middle, and then 300 at the bottom. Because again, I'm being a little heavier on my bids on the bottom of my zones just based on the market we're in right now. So I got tapped in on 100 shares, I believe. I broke up here above VWAP. As soon as it did that, I went ahead and I moved my stop up here to break even. simply because I was in small size. Having stop at break even, knowing that I'm risking $0 means that I can kind of like let it do what it wants to do. My first PT was actually going to be 11.5 here. And then the second was going to be, 11.7 all the way up to 12 and so on and so forth. It broke 11.5 right here, and I immediately sold. I think I got filled at like 11.54 or something like that. But essentially, I took a 90-cent move, give or take. What was this? I got filled at 7, so it would have been an 80-cent move, then. So yeah, good trade. I mean, obviously I could have held it for a little bit longer, but again, I was in so small. I was trying to focus on other things at the time as well. PTE. So this one was a long one. So PTE, I took early and rode it for what felt like an eternity. It's PTE. So let's see, 126 down to 122, and that was at 8:47. So right here at this, in between this candle and during this candle, I said 126 to 122. 126 to 122. So it looks like a big zone, right? But it's actually just a 4-cent zone. My stop ended up being down here at 115, simply because the ticker had so much or so little range to begin with that like 115 was pretty much, as you can see, the low of the pre-market action that took place, and was really, when the ticker traded in such a small range because it's worth so little that 1015 never got touched all day. But obviously I didn't know that at the time. Anyways, you can see that what it's based off of. You can see that the wicks here were based off of some key levels in pre-market. So anyhow, the stop would have meant that price came through VWAP, came through the 20, yada yada yada. So I ended up getting filled in full, realizing that my stop was only about 7 cents. I was like, well, I can size up a little bit more since I'm actually not even at my max risk. So I sized a little bit as it kind of dipped down here. I ended up getting my position to 1.20. Came close to tapping me out, a cent away at one point. It broke through here, and once it got over 1.3, I was watching it. It eventually came up here like this, and I sold above the break of this high of the run right here. So it went up, came back down. I was waiting. I was like, well, if it comes back to my zone, I can either consider adding, depending on what the big picture chart looks like. But it broke up here, and then it broke back up again. And as soon as it broke this level, I sold at 133. I remember that exactly. So I ended up taking about a 13-cent move there, which is not bad. It just took like 45 minutes or something. But thankfully, it's such a low-cost ticker that I could just kind of have it going without really paying attention to it. Since, again, I had my stop. I had all of that already situated. So I could literally pay attention to other things and just look over and see, like, am I still in the position? Cool. That means I haven't been stopped out. And, So this is a ticker that worked for me. Very nice. Let's see. PTIX, I took... sorry if you guys hear that. My dog wants me to feed her. She's scratching at the door. PTIX, I took, so it would have been right. 4 to 385. Yeah, that was right here. So I took 4 to 385 right here. I got filled in full. As you can see, what that looks like on these higher time frames. I ended up selling at above high of the run right. Oops. I ended up selling above high of the run right here. So I ended up taking, I think my average was like 3.9. So I ended up having a 50-cent move on this one. I sold right here at the break of this level, this wick right here that you're seeing. So yeah, it got above that. Obviously, I could have held for another 15 cents or whatever, but that was my plan. My defined risk was down here, which was actually a gap from, I believe, a halt. So yeah, that gap fill would have been my it ended up being my stop here. And really great risk to reward on this one. I think this is 20 cents, yeah, to a 50-cent upside. Trading above VWAP, the 5 and the 10 looked good the entire time. Obviously, I got out of it at a good spot because you can see that it was pop, drop, run up, drop, run up, drop. It seems that this week is going to be quite the repeat of the next. Now, I ended up trying to take this zone again over here. So I got filled right here, obviously the same exact situation. I think I was in at a 3.9 average. And then I was immediately stopped out for a 20-cent loss or 30-cent loss, something like a 25-cent loss. So that was a shame. Gave back half of what I made on the win right there. That was okay, though. I'm not upset about that. It had conviction going with it. I mean, that would have been a pretty decent trend right here if it, had restructured the other way. Obviously, it continued to sell off, so no such luck. I should have probably realized that going forward. So I ended up giving half of my win back on that one, which is a little unfortunate. Okay, so now we go back over to LEDS, and this is where things got a little wily, a little out of pocket here. As you can see, LEDS was just a perfect example of my least favorite thing, pop and drops here. So you can see this consolidation, and as soon as it started happening, here we'll talk about this really quick because this is you don't see these very often, but it was obvious, and as it took place, I was like, oh no. I know exactly what this is, and I still was like, you know what? No, respect your stop, yada, yada, yada. My stop was actually down here, I think. Yeah. Okay, so my zone was 11.4 to 11.16. So 11.4 to 11.16. And then my stop would have been... No, my stop was higher up. I got stopped out immediately. Yeah, my stop was right here, I think, at the 10.9. I can't remember exactly. But anyways, I guess I should have been more clear about that. So I ended up getting stopped out, obviously. 11.4 down to 11.16. I got filled here. We're just shooting for a solid move to 12, potentially scale out at high a day. We got VWAP and the $0.50 around here. So, I was like, if it can get over that 11.5, we might be all right. But it immediately stopped me out right here, right? Immediately stopped me out right here at 10.9. And I took a small loss, right? I took a, 25-cent loss or whatever. My max risk at like I always preach. I took a 1% of my account loss here, right? Well, as soon as it topped me out and then it went back up here, I said, damn it, I was right. My stop was just a little too tight. Let's try it again. So I got back in the same zone. I ended up having a little bit lower average here because I kind of just inputted my hotkeys. So I got like 200, 200, 200, 200, or whatever. As I got filled, so my average ended up being like a little below my zone. And I moved my stop down here. And I was like, all right, you know what? I just needed a better entry. My stop was too tight. Now it's going up, and I screwed up. And we'll make it back, right? So big mistake right there. Because immediately, I even said to myself, and I even said it in chat actually. I said, oh no, this is what is called a bear flag. It's the opposite of a bull flag. This is literally the picture perfect bear flag. And as it started to do this, I said, oh, God. I literally said it to myself, and I was like, well, respect your stop. It might pop over. And part of me was like, you know what, maybe I should just get out at break even, or actually I think I was a little bit in the money at here, a few cents or whatever. And I was like, well, no, it could be wedging, all these things that go through my head as I'm trying to tell myself, like, convince yourself that you're seeing something good, ignore the 10 red flags and the revenge trade you just did and all that, and just find the one thing that makes your head say, yeah, no, you're justified in doing this, right? I have a bad habit of doing that. And it bear flagged and immediately came down to stop me in, just like a bear flag would, or stop me out rather. So it did. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, I was like, okay, well, it'll bounce off 10.5, and I took 10.5 with a 10-cent or a 20-cent stop, and immediately got stopped out again. And it was just real quick, in a matter of a couple of minutes, I had just shit my whole day away. And I was like, wow, dude, now I have to go to work. I'm significantly red. I could have been barely any red. I could have been slightly green if I just would have not revenge traded. I mean, I would have been like red $100 or something after the first one. Big deal. I can make that back easy. I can make double, triple, quadruple that sometimes in a single win. But, instead I went and I failed once more, and then I failed another time. Had I just taken that one L and moved on, I'd be in a completely different situation at the end of the day. Because later on at the end of after, I kind of didn't trade for a while, went to my job and did some work or whatever, got a chance to look back at stocks. I ended up having a really great trade from about 2 to 3 o'clock that pretty much wiped all of my losses on the day, or like a good portion of them. So I ended small red, but, had I just not taken part in these 2 foolish trades here, and, the PTIX one, I'm kind of okay with. I respected what I was doing there, and I had a reason and a plan. But these 2, I had no plan. The chart told me exactly what it planned to do, and I thought I knew better than the chart, or I was holding on to hope or something. I don't know. Just so that I could make the money back that I had lost. And I ended up losing 3 times as much. So moving forward, at least for the rest of this week, I will not be trading a ticker I have taken a loss on for at least 20 minutes, which is 2 10-minute candles, 4 5-minute candles. Because after 2 10-minute candles or 4 5-minute candles, like, a chart can tell you a lot, right? Let's say, like, right here, 4 5-minute candles. That's quite a story. 4 5-minute candles, that tells you a lot. So there's a lot of information to be had. 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, right? Like, there's a lot of merit in just waiting and having patience and not, freaking out and trying to make my money back. So I will be doing that moving forward. If I take a loss on a name, I don't care how good the setup or the chart looks. I don't care if I just, if I just had a better entry with a more loose stop, my plan was perfect, I just executed poorly. I don't care. I'm going to not trade the ticker for a good 20 minutes. Might even take it off my watch list just to not even give myself the opportunity. So yeah, that was unfortunate, man. I, in a just real quick, boom, 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 just got dumpstered. And after that, thankfully, I did, think to myself, okay, well, let's just chill now. When I was at work and I was trading, I was like, all right, don't be foolish. You can't afford to be foolish and on mobile at the same time. That's rough. So I kind of, I definitely took LEDS was a bear flag on the 5. I said at 9:28 after I had been stopped out the second time and was still not convinced. So CUEQ here, I took when I got to work for a good, actually, little trade. Two, I think. But they were both on my mom's account, on my mom's Webull. Since I was like, no, I don't care if you think this is a good setup or not. You've proven today that you're a shitter, and you don't need to be trading your own account. So I went and traded my mom, which is obviously a lot smaller size, and you know, my risk tolerance is different and stuff like that. So Q at 10:17. I'm at work now at this point. 10:17. I said 14:59 to 14:37. And as you can see, price came down. I actually ended up saying, let's reject 15 and come fill daddy. And sure enough, it came down, filled me. Beautiful move. Went up to 15, and I actually sold at 14.9 here. So I was on my mom's account again, sold 14.9. Got a good little trade, right? Good little trade. And then it came back down into my zone, and I took it again. You know, real tight stop. I think I was at I think my stop is actually in when I take the same zone. This is actually a cool little thing to explain that I have not talked about previously. So when I take a second trade within the same zone, I did the same thing on, I believe it was on Friday when I traded OCGN. I ended up taking the same zone multiple times, right? And now when you do that, it's really nice you can have a stop super tight, because all I have to do is the low of the previous trip through my zone then becomes my stop. Because if in the next zone it dips below that, then I know we're creating a lower low. It's no longer a higher low at that point. So instead of, you know, basing it off of technicals earlier in the day or whatever, it's very simple. I just say, okay, I'll take the zone again under the condition that it doesn't pop out any lower than the last time I took it, because I want there to be the similar strength or at least some kind of good forward momentum. And it didn't. So I got filled in full, popped up over here above VWAP. I actually, as this was consolidating, I did take half profit here. So I was then in half a move, and then as it popped through 15, I sold. I sold at market. I don't know where I got filled, but it was above 15. So that ended up being two really good, well-executed, low-risk, well-respected trades. Now, my mom benefited from both of those, so it obviously didn't contribute to my, you know, I would have been green on the day had I done it on my account. But I was pissed at myself, you know, so be it. So, I think, oh no, I ended up taking a loss on PRPO as well. A real tight, real small one, really quick. This is also on my mom's account, so, you know, it didn't impact my day at all. Let's see, where were we? 12:57. So 12:57, yeah, significantly later in the day here. 12:50. So up here in this move, I said PRPO, I'll add 506 to 495 with a defined stop at 48 because it has good risk to reward. 506 to 495. And then my stop was at 48. And we have all this upside that I was looking at, right? So my first area of, you know, starting to look would be 5.2 here. Not to scale out, but just to pay attention because that's where some consolidation took place. My first profit target was actually up here, my second up here, and then my third was a push for high of the day. So we're talking, you know, a good 40 cents to 20 cents or whatever. And then at the peak of it, you know, 50, 60, 70 plus cents. I was in real small. I ended up getting filled and full, as you can see, and then stopped out almost immediately. And I was like, all right, you know, that's not a big deal. I had taken the Q trades, so I was still, I also traded a few options. So my mom's account did way better than I did today, which is good for her, I guess, right? So after seeing this, after having 2 wins and a loss, you know, following my rules, feeling good about it, I finally said, okay, you know what, for the last trade of the day, I'll trade it on my account, simply because I planned to take a short position, and my mom's account, I believe, is a cash account, and you can't. I don't think on Webull you can short on cash accounts. I didn't try, but I wasn't about to short on my mom's account anyways. So yeah, it ended up being right up here. Yep. So I ended up taking a short. Let me see, where was the... Now, this is actually a really good opportunity for me to explain how I do shorts using the exact same method, the pullback trend system and what have you. My profit target was going to be 14.5 first, and then I was shooting for 14. Unfortunately, I never got it. I ended up taking the rest of it at like 14.3 or 14.4. But so yeah, essentially it's the exact same thing. And in order to make it even easier, you can do it upside down. But I was on mobile. I saw that, like, you know, price was creating this kind of downward trend right here. I literally said to myself, all right, what is the chart telling me? What is the chart telling me? What is the chart telling me? So I took a full position. I ended up getting my average filled in this area, just like I would in a long position, expecting the failure of the trend, which took place. And we got down here to 14.5, and I actually held my full position because I saw this and I was like, man, if enough downward, if we break this low here at 14.2, we could see 14. You know, we could see sub 14. I'm talking, you're talking a whole dollar move right there. And I had a good sized position because my risk was so well defined. So yeah, I ended up getting filled in full. I did descending bids. Obviously you do them in the opposite direction that you would do on longs, but you know, the exact same process. I got filled in full. Yeah, I don't remember exactly where my cost average ended up being, but you know, I held it literally to the very end right here, and then I ended up selling for, I think, 14.4 right before, because I don't like to hold especially short positions going into after hours. And the reason for that is, if you're familiar with after hours, especially on tickers that, you know, are $15 or you're more expensive than $5 or whatever, you can start to get these really disgusting spreads. So as soon as I sold at 14.4, I made pretty much all my losses back on the day. I ended up, you know, slightly red, which I was cool with. But again, had I just not made those very silly, very emotionally driven mistakes on LEDS, that would have been a huge move. And I would have been, you know, very profitable on the day. But in that moment this morning, when I'm sitting in front of the loss on LEDS, it's very hard to think about, like, at the end of the day, dude, you could still be green. Just, you know, this is just not the one. It's just not on this ticker, right? So moving forward, I'm going to put that 20-minute rule in. You know, and if I lose on 3 tickers and they're the only 3 tickers running, I guess I just won't trade until I got to go to work. So, you know, that sucks, but you know, those are the things you have to do to police yourself, right? Because again, nobody's looking out for your money in this market. You have to be on top of yourself. And I have a lot of issues with revenge trading and things like that. So, you know, I'm going to make a conscious effort to be, you know, strict on myself and, you know, get better at that so that, you know, long term I can just become a better trader. But yeah, that ended up being a great trade. Unfortunately, it pretty much, you know, helped save my day as opposed to really make my day, which is a shame. But, you know, that's it for me today, guys. Again, I'll be streaming on my Twitch now. I'll probably boot up 7 a.m. Central Time or whenever I wake up. I don't know if I'll be using... I guess I'll use my mic. I'm not really sure. I just think that if I know that I have it up and I can go back and watch the video of my trading and kind of talk as I'm trading about what I'm thinking, it'll make my ability to review myself a lot easier. So... yeah, that's something you guys can look out for if you're interested. Obviously, nobody is. It's not mandatory for anybody. I'm not that kind of guy. I you know, it's for my own purposes. But if you feel like you can benefit from it, obviously, you guys are welcome and invited. But that is going to be it for me today, guys. If you have any questions, always feel free to DM me. Questions are always welcome, and my DMs are always open. Take it easy, guys. Have a good one.